Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for our second virtual Lunch and Learn, Reopening the Office, Infrastructure for Today's Work Environment. I'm Liz McClellan, Marketing Manager at Connectivity Point, and today we're talking about getting back into the office, the different ways that we work, the technology that businesses use, and the considerations that will ensure our success for today and tomorrow. As we start to open offices back up to employees, we want to make sure that the technology we use on a daily basis can support the new ways that we work. We need to ask ourselves, what are we doing differently? What has changed in the office? That includes where and how our employees work, understanding what communications are vital to our business, facilitating collaboration with a mix of remote, hybrid, and in-office employees, as well as customers and clients. Ensuring the safety of our employees or students is also something that we need to consider. So today I have 4 connectivity tech experts with us to talk about what returning to work looks like for audiovisual, telephony, security, and the network cabling that supports it all. We'll be taking questions at the end, so post them in the Q&A section as they come up, and we'll get to them in a bit. First up, I have Bill Paradis, an account executive with Connectivity Point, who has over 20 years of experience in the telecommunications and cable industries. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Liz.
So, Bill, first off, tell us a little bit about the importance of the cabling infrastructure and what technology shifts or trends you're seeing that impact the cabling that a business needs.
Yeah, so just about every technology system that's out there we're installing for our commercial clients, they definitely need some kind of cable wire now. The trend is for everything to be connected, whether it's wired, wireless, or even cellular. Every connection needs its own cabling and equipment to get connected, so each connection can then operate on the network. The most common connections, that we're seeing in the marketplace, of course, are office workstations, cubicle areas, phones, wireless, AV systems, cameras, building management systems, alarms. Pretty much just about everything is IP based now and needs the network to run. As the Internet of Things continues to grow, we're seeing, even in our appliances at our homes are getting connected to the internet, TVs, refrigerators, washing machines. Our commercial clients in commercial buildings, we're seeing building controls, sensors, lighting, heating, cooling, in almost every device and systems getting connected to the internet. We continue to see this growth in wireless as well as in building cellular systems, which both require network cabling. Wireless, the trend is more bandwidth to be able to support more users consuming such bandwidth. So the trend is to use a higher grade copper cable, such as category 6A cable. And in some cases, we're seeing installing multiple cables to support the dual radios and the dual wireless devices for the access points. Cellular is pushing to provide coverage everywhere, including the growing need for in-building cellular. This also requires cabling that can bring services and then distribute to cell antennas within the building. In technology, the trend is always to future-proof. That's what a lot of our clients are doing, and we're installing the latest and greatest technology that's available in the market. So that is often a decision is what our customers can afford and what they actually need. So we continue to help our clients with those decisions on a daily basis.
Great. So, you're talking about the technology, the need for increasing and the bandwidth for so much of this increasing. What are the standards that the cabling should meet? And, how do I know as a business owner whether what I have existing is going to work for that or not?
Yeah, so many of our clients over the years have developed, their own standard requirements, whether it be from the top down within their corporation or their business. This could be also a result of architecture influence. So a lot of our clients are building new buildings, so the architecture gets involved in the design. And Connectivity Point as well, we have a design team, so we've helped a lot of our clients develop that standard that's required to run their network. So basically, Category 6 or better was the standard, and it had been for many years, and it still is today. A lot of our higher end users, healthcare facilities, financial customers, data centers, engineering firms, they're all requiring more bandwidth now, and they need the most performance out of their network. Cat 6A has definitely become the more common application as a standard that we're seeing in buildings, especially for wireless access points. We're actually running dual Cat 6A to wireless to prepare for the future. We actually installed recently a boutique hotel in central Maine that instead of running copper and coax throughout the building, we actually ran a PON technology. So that would give them the capability to have connection for the in-room phone, the bring your own device for their guests, as well as internet access and television. So that trend, is likely to continue to see some of the, some of that network get put into place today. If our clients aren't sure if their current system supports the technology that they need to run their business, that's where Connectivity Point can certainly lend a hand. We, on an almost daily basis, we're conducting site visits and walkthroughs and meetings. It's real common that their old infrastructure, their office cubicle network, or even their racks have been added to over time, which is very common. In which case, we're able to help them either clean up, identify, label, test, and in some case, we, use the old cable to pull out the old cable. We'll pull in the new to help support the new network and the devices that they're putting into place.
That makes sense. So one of the things that I've been hearing is this term PoE. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and what the emerging need for it is?
Yeah, good questions. So yeah, PoE is power over Ethernet. It's a very big topic in the cabling and network control industry today. PoE has been around for a long time. It's certainly nothing new. A lot of the network equipment that our clients are running, even running in our homes, cameras, phones, building control systems, monitoring for security and HVAC, and those types of controls as well. Those endpoints are all using PoE. So a lot of our cabling manufacturers and the partners that we work with to help with the distribution of the products we buy for our clients, they're making jacks that can withstand, network jacks that can withstand the heat generated from some of this equipment that's power dependent. So in which case we actually are seeing a big trend in that, and you're going to see that continue in the future of network infrastructure for sure.
Great, good to know. So much of this technology relies on the foundation that strong cabling infrastructure provides. What types of systems are your clients looking for that also require them to update their cabling?
Yeah, the real hot item right now, I mean, we're here talking on a virtual conversation or meeting. So AV systems, that's definitely huge, and wireless systems, and the network to run these systems. So conferencing is everywhere we go. Our kids are using it in their daily lives. We're using it in our work lives. Remote learning is huge. So it's certainly not going away anytime soon. So the emerging need for the network, the infrastructure to support the AV systems is a huge trend, and it's critical to run. We're also seeing a demand for voice over IP systems. Security cameras are more and more common in the workplace today, as well as wireless systems, as I mentioned before. So we will actually, in security cameras, for example, we'll use some of the old cable, the old coax cable that was big 10 years ago. We're using that to pull in category cable to support the IP devices and cameras.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I think that's a great segue to get us over to Adam Krowick. Adam's one of our AV estimators who has over 20 years of experience on the installation and design side of AV, as well as on the customer side. So Adam, can you talk a little bit about how you're seeing AV systems change in the workplace to accommodate the way that people are working today?
Sure, thanks, Liz. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of talk around what's happening after the pandemic. But although there's a lot of predicted changes, the technology hasn't changed immensely yet. We're mostly just seeing adoption of existing technology and existing functions. An example is, conferencing previously was, still kind of for specialized rooms and limited spaces. And as we're communicating now, it's almost now a standard that you need to be able to connect your computer to support some kind of conferencing. So these additions or adoptions of existing technology is actually making rooms easier to use. It's giving us better quality. We're all used to GoPros now, and we kind of expect that when we go online. And it's providing better communication. We all talk, through our bodies as much as our voice, and it helps people work together.
So you mentioned conferencing. Can you talk a little bit about conferencing versus collaboration, and how AV really helps facilitate that when we have people that are not just in the office, but also spread out all over, literally all over?
Yeah, I think, if you think, most people think of conferencing as a very basic form of communication. You have someone on a phone call and you're only trying to get bits and pieces from them, or they're mostly listening to somebody else speak. When we are together in groups, we're mostly collaborating. Even in our houses, we're now collaborating. We're always collaborating with our families. With the trend towards remote, all this communication now needs to support collaboration. So our devices, not just voice and video, are now have information. We all carry our own digital sets of information on the project that we're working on, and that all is coming together. So recent technologies have been allowing wireless collaboration. Improvements with our infrastructure, and the wireless, as Bill was saying, allows some of this collaboration to come back to your computer. You don't have to connect as many cables, and then you have a better, more free-flowing conversation.
Well, I think that's, like a great, when we're having this conversation now, we're all sitting at our home or home office, and, the equipment that we have at home is different than what we might be getting in an office space, a meeting space that's been set up for that work environment, and in anticipation of doing that type of work. What are the things that you can give advice for people out of their home office to kind of fix some of the common video call issues, just so that experience can be improved even at this level?
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with a good basic setup. I think we all saw that webcams were a hot commodity, the last 6 months. Your computer, your laptop wasn't designed to capture the best video or capture the best audio. So getting a really basic, camera that's positioned in the correct place, so it feels like you're actually talking to the person, a good quality microphone and speaker, so that you don't get the echo, you're nicely and clearly heard. Most of this stuff can be purchased pretty inexpensively, and then when you go into the office, it expands upon, and you're used to this, that hardware being around.
Yeah. So it really is about improving the experience for everybody, so that we're trying to mimic that, us sitting around a table talking as best we can while we can't be there. Well, that makes sense. And I think, and right now you are not on your laptop for your video and your voice, right?
Yeah, exactly. I actually have a camera that's a fairly high quality camera that's sitting on top of my monitor, and I use a Bose speaker. portable speaker, and that is enough to give me a quality experience. As people's demands, you can expand on that, but something simple is, really a good way to start.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something I will look into. Do businesses need to upgrade their entire AV system, or can they work and upgrade into kind of that existing infrastructure and equipment that they already have?
Yeah, I think Bill kind of touched on, we come in and take a look at what you have. And it's kind of a hard question because nobody wants to replace equipment they recently purchased and may not be completely end of life cycle just to support some new initiative. So we really try hard to, use existing equipment. We'll do a complete site inventory, give you a recommendation on what is a solid piece of equipment or what might be potential of failure. Most customers or any customer doesn't want to go through an upgrade and have something fail a little ways down the line just because that wasn't upgraded, right? So our goal is to always design systems on the way that they can be easily upgraded without replacing existing hardware or technologies. And we'll look for that first and that direction first before anyone is kind of boxed into a corner of, oh, you have to do a full overhaul.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that, I've heard you talking about is cities and towns that are investing in upgrading their AV systems. What are you seeing from the municipality angle?
Yeah, a lot of the municipalities, had initiatives last year to include Zoom or other conferencing. Especially here in the Northeast, a lot of our town halls have very small square footage. They're very old buildings, and not everyone with COVID restrictions could be in the space. So we worked with quite a few town offices to look at their existing systems and how we could add on without completely overhauling. And then, I think from that, a lot of people actually found benefits that, a lot of town officials and residents have obviously other lives going on, and it's hard to coordinate meetings and, transportation. So I think you'll see more flexibility. We've had requests where town meeting managers or board members need a little more flexibility so they can attend, and so far it's been well received.
Yeah, no, that's great. It sounds like it's going to just offer more inclusivity for people to make sure that they're attending and part of their community. So great. Well, thank you very much. Now we are going to switch over to Bill Mitchell and talk about telephone systems. Bill is a telephony engineer and has been in the industry since 1979 when he started learning communications in the Navy. Bill, can you talk about what do businesses need to do to get their phone systems ready to accommodate the range of work styles that we're seeing?
Yes, thanks, Liz, and hi, everybody. Telephonically speaking, the first question we have to ask is, does your existing phone system work for you? In some cases it does. You just may need some minor tweaking, a change in your inbound call routes, a new auto attendant greeting, call forwarding to support just basic remote users. But in a lot of cases, businesses are facing new challenges now. The primary challenge we're facing is the support for remote users. And these could be full-time remote staff. It can be the staff that works sometimes from home and sometimes from the office. It can be the road warriors who only come into the office occasionally. The trick is to keep them all connected to your customers through your existing phone system. One of the other challenges we're seeing is staff not having enough companies not having enough staff to handle the amount of incoming phone calls. In the days of having a dedicated receptionist for most companies have passed us by. So how do staff who are multitasking also handle answering incoming calls without interrupting their workflow? That's been a big challenge for a lot of companies. Another thing that we've seen change is the deployment of the Microsoft Teams solution for collaboration. You know, it's a great tool for keeping workers together as they're in separate geographic areas, as opposed to used to have the ability to go to the office, the cubicle next door to look at a floor plan or to work in a document. So it's a great tool for internal communications, but how do you bring in phone calls from your outside callers, from your customers and your clients into this platform? And finally, one change that kind of slipped through the radar during this whole response to the pandemic is the need for compliance with the new next generation 911 regulations, specifically Kerry's Law and the Ray-Baum Act. This is something you need to consider if you do choose a new telecom platform. I can answer questions specific to these two rules at the end of the formal presentation.
Great, thank you. So, you know, you talked about some of the different ways that the telephone systems can accommodate work styles. Can you share some actual examples of how specific phone systems have improved the way that businesses have continued to work, even as, you know, they're having their employees spread out more or are limited in capacity?
Definitely. I'll give you two recent examples of deployments we just performed. First is a manufacturer's rep agency. They instituted work from home at the beginning of the pandemic, and it worked mostly for them. A lot of their applications were cloud-based, but they were using a legacy phone system that was had some real shortcomings as far as supporting those remote staff. It was simple, basic call forwarding to cell phones. The remote staff didn't have the ability to make a phone call through the phone system. When they did get a call from a client, they had no way of transferring it back to another staff member that could help them. When they would get a message from a remote caller, they couldn't forward that message to somebody else in another department. So we deployed a VoIP solution for them. One of the first things we did is reduce the count of phones in their office from 20 to 4. We set up a receptionist, a office manager, and 2 guest offices for the remote staff who would sometimes have to come in site to the office. The other thing we did is deploy VoIP apps on the remote staff's cell phones or their laptops, and it could be Windows or Macs. And that gave them the ability to make a phone call through the phone system, showing the main number as their outbound caller ID. Once they did get a call, they could actually redirect it to somebody else that could help them, as opposed to saying, hang up and dial this number. They were able to, when they got a voicemail message, to redirect it to somebody else. And the added benefit is if a caller did reach a mailbox greeting, they could zero out to reach somebody live. It's all about making it more efficient, more convenient for the customer to do business with you. One of the other things we deployed, since they needed the ability to set up conference calls ad hoc between staff members and clients, we set up a conference bridge where they were given a toll-free number for their clients to dial into to view a presentation, both audio and visual. The remote staff and any staff that are on site using the audio conference speakerphone in the space could actually all participate in the conference. And the added benefit was that the conference manager could actually use a web browser to manage who was in the call. So it's similar to Zoom, but it's all integrated into the telephone system. Besides supporting the work from home initiative, they gained 2 benefits. They reduced their phone bills because they no longer needed that expensive digital circuit to support the number of incoming calls, but they also were able to shrink the rent because they could downsize. They didn't need as much office space. So that was one example for remote workers. The other is for a medical staff. They're like a lot of medical offices, they've been hit hard with telephone traffic due to people's concerns over COVID or scheduling vaccines or appointments or handling the backlog of appointments now that things have opened up. So their patients are constantly complaining about being in hold forever or getting a busy signal. to try to help handle these calls. This office actually had the nurses help out with answering calls, but it took them away from doing what they were supposed to be doing. It just wasn't an efficient solution for them. So they reached out to us for help. We designed a VoIP solution with a contact center or call center. So some of the advantages, since VoIP is not line dependent, we eliminated the busy signals. The other thing we did, we front-ended the incoming calls with an audio tin that were able to funnel requests that could be simply left as a voicemail message in the mailbox without tying up a live person, such as a prescription refill or to cancel an appointment. If the patient did need to speak to a live person, we sent the call to the call center. The call was answered and the order was received. If nobody was available to take the call, they were placed into a queue, which rang through once the next answering position was available. So it answered calls democratically. The other benefit is the staff had the ability to log in, log out, to sign in, to take call queues. So during or first in the morning, just before lunch, at the end of the day, when their call traffic was heavier, they would have more people log in. During those slower hours, they would take those people, log them out so they could update charts, they could phone confirm appointments, or they could just take breaks.
That's great. I mean, for a phone system to have the ability to increase productivity, allow them to be more nimble and help the bottom line, sounds like all positive things that you might not necessarily expect when you look to upgrade your phone system. So when a business is looking at new phone systems, what should they be looking for, and how do they decide what is the right system? Like, what does that process look like?
Well, they need to understand their challenges. Are the challenges I outlined earlier? Is it there's support for remote staff? Is it trouble answering their incoming calls? Or have they switched to Teams and they're having two separate voice platform infrastructures to deal with? The quick answer is to talk to us. We at Connectivity, we have our experience, our skill set, and also the hardware software solutions in our portfolio to custom design a solution for them. I have to say, I may be biased, but I think telephone systems are the single most customized technology in an office, because you have customized auto attendant, we have customized inbound routing, you have customized feature set per phone. A phone system is not an off-the-shelf solution, and you need someone who understands that functionality to make it work for you and solve your concerns. And it could be just a matter of, if your concerns may be addressed just by simple upgrade or expansion of your phone system, a tweaking of the software database, or it may be a whole new platform. We can help you choose the right one that's for you. One other benefit I have to say is that we provide an integrated solution. We use Bill Paradis' cabling solution to provide the best quality of service for our desk phones, also for the wireless phones in your enterprise, whether they're connected through Wi-Fi or a dedicated voice DECT network. We can also tie in voice to Adam's AV conference room solution to bring your customers into that. And we can, in some cases, we can run voice through Tony's video security cameras to give you a specialized application for certain areas where it's not enough to have video, but to have voice. We work with your IT staff, and we work together to connect all these systems. We tie everything all together for you.
Great. No. Well, thank you so much, Bill. That was great. Next, we have Tony Folia, a Connectivity Point account executive who has 20 years of experience, including a background in installation and design. Tony's going to talk to us about some of the changes we're seeing around physical security. So Tony, how are you seeing security needs or requests shift based on the new office structure?
How's it going, Liz? Yeah, so, we're seeing actually a greater need for physical security, especially with the vaccinations that have been rolled out and, businesses reopening, people coming back to work and everything. What we're finding is that, a lot of times the camera systems, the access control systems, are there for specific reasons, have been utilized for the same, reasons over many, many years. But now what we're seeing is our customers are actually going into the camera systems and utilizing them more than just for security. They're using it for people counting. They're using it to observe worksite conditions. They're utilizing the technology that's in the software of, Exact Vision, for example, for the camera system, to be able to keep an eye on what's going on with social distancing, because there's still going to be some social distancing once everything starts to go back to normal. Also utilizing the access control system so that, instead of just, people just going in to have clearances to certain areas in their offices or buildings, or just, getting into the building, using what they call anti-passback, so that somebody can't just walk in right behind the other person, so that they could kind of enforce social distancing,
No, that makes a lot of sense. And that's interesting to see how it is changing from what security was perceived before and how it's kind of they're adapting the equipment to how we're doing things today and those challenges.
It's a tool that could be utilized, for more than just what it's branded to be
originally. Yeah, no, that's super interesting. So how do the changes in security affect the cabling infrastructure? Are there different requirements or standards that businesses need to be aware of?
Yeah, so over my career, of being a technician, before I got into sales, was Cat 5 or even coax cable was used for camera systems, for quite some time now. And with the latest technology with cameras, everything going parallel Ethernet, PoE, like Bill talked about earlier, there's a need for, Cat 6 cable now. Cat 5 cable is pretty much a thing of the past, still being utilized, but we're seeing, with the growth of video conferencing, with the growth of, bandwidth consumption being utilized over these, high megapixel, cameras, that the original infrastructure isn't going to work anymore. We're also finding that customers want to segregate especially for video management systems. They want to segregate it off their network and just having the cameras residing on its own specific network, so it's not consuming all the bandwidth of the internal network for everything else for video conferencing. So we are seeing that we're going in and taking the infrastructure that they currently have, segregating the cabling structure for video management systems, for camera systems, putting it on its own network, and just allowing certain individuals access to the system, which they'll pull from the server, instead of all the cameras residing on the entire network, consuming all that bandwidth, affecting the video calls that are happening on the AV side, affecting internet access. So yes, we're seeing that. We're also seeing integrations, because IT departments are in charge now of the physical security. So we're seeing integrations between two systems, instead of having your video management software on one system residing on one server, and then you have your access control on another one, and you have your intrusion detection on another one. We're seeing that it's more, the IT departments are now wanting a solution where everything's kind of merged together, residing on one system itself.
Oh, no,
so there's a lot of changes.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that we've been hearing a lot about are thermal cameras. Can you tell me about the benefits and how businesses are actually using them?
So with thermal cameras and with COVID, I mean, everywhere you go, you got people that's scanning your taking your temperature with a little scanning tool. It's not as efficient, especially when you have people coming back into the workplace. You're going to see that it's going to cause bottlenecks, people trying to get into the building to get through their work. And with the thermal cameras, all it is basically just a camera sitting in a certain position and taking temperature sensors, temperature screening. So it's not directly saying, oh, this person is 97.5 or 99.2, but it's basically putting giving our customers the ability to to allow their employees to come into the building and scan to see, you know, okay, somebody's temperature is a little bit off. Let's pull them aside and take the scanning tool and, you know, see what their temperature is, and then, you know, determine what's the next steps on whether, you know, they want that employee, you know, working that day or not. Because we all know that, you know, there's a lot of people that do come into work sick because you got so much work to do and you miss a day. You know, it's a problem. But at the same time, we don't want everyone to get sick, especially with COVID. But it's more efficient than, you know, the temperature scanners, allowing people in, you know, at a faster pace. And it also helps with the person that's taking the scans. So that person is at a safe distance from anybody that potentially could be, you know, ill. So the technology is there. It's something that we'll be more than happy to, you know, introduce. There's different types of thermal scanners that we could use. There's like a camera that could be set up. There's a kiosk that could be set up, and that all directs information to a certain individual that's basically, tasked to see, you know, make sure everybody's healthy coming in.
Yeah, and it sounds like that it's another way that there's that integration versus keeping it as a separate entity, like you were talking about the intrusion, the access control, the video cameras, all of that kind of being separate before, now really is an integrated system, and this is another piece that can be integrated into it.
Yep.
Great.
There are FDA compliances and stuff that we'll be happy to discuss, but yeah, it's a great tool, especially with, you know, getting back to normal.
Yeah, no, well, thank you very much. So right now we are going to jump back to Jim Paradis to kind of bring us around to the infrastructure and all of the pieces that we've heard from Bill, Tony, and Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Liz, and thank you, Tony, Bill, and Adam, for, you know, sharing your input and your professional input and information. As our audience, hopefully you've kind of heard the messaging, which is basically, you know, the network infrastructure does play a critical role to, you know, to run all of these technology systems we discussed today. Sometimes what we run into, you know, with how busy our, you know, business owners are trying to get their businesses back on track and get back into the office, you know, sometimes the infrastructure piece doesn't get handled appropriately. So our goal is to basically help out with, you know, that design or the planning stages at the beginning of the process, you know, before you're heading back into the office or, you know, implementing some of these systems in your workplace. So for everyone that's been with us throughout the presentation, I also want to mention that we have an entire team, you know, behind us to help support our clients as well. That they can range from, we have product experts, RCDD engineers, estimators, project managers, and, you know, a whole crew of certified technicians that make up our team here at Connectivity Point. So we all work together as a team, you know, for any project, whether it's service related, large or small, to try to help provide the best solution for our clients. So hopefully, you know, everyone out there, please don't hesitate to reach out to our local staff if you've got a project or a challenge on your plate. We want to help, and, you know, we're here to help.
Great, thanks, Phil. So now we are at our Q&A portion, and so we are going to start it off. I do have a couple questions that have come in from the audience. The first one is for Adam. Adam, we have a question that is, what do you recommend for an at-home camera or microphone setup? Is there a specific brand or recommendation or parameters?
Yeah, so your camera setup, you know, for the most part, we're all very close to our screen within a couple feet. So a quality web camera that has a good 1080 image capture is sufficient. That's what mine is sitting here. It came from a pro manufacturer, so it has a little better components behind it, but the resolution is 1080. The other part is, you know, your speaker and microphone. I currently have a Bose SoundSport speaker. I also have Bose SoundSport headphones, and I switch between the two. That's just the personal ones I found. For the office or for home office, having a little speakerphone that sits on your desk, so you can't see my hands, I'm talking, is actually ideal. And there's a few companies that make a few of them. Clear One Chat 70 actually is just a really good option. You can throw it in your bag as you're moving around, works off USB, gives you a mic mute button, a physical button to mute your microphone, and volume and hang up versus trying to scroll your mouse back over if you need to mute and cough or something. So just something like that, it makes your life easier and easier for everyone to be heard.
Great, thank you. Our next question is for Bill Mitchell. Bill, what is the most common or best solution for the new 911 regulations?
Well, as a minimum, your phone system should support Kerry's Law compliance. That was mandated. Any phone system sold and installed after February 2020 should have this capability. Kerry's Law provides for two features. First is the ability to dial 911 without an access code. Anybody within your organization or who's visiting your organization should be able to just lift their hands and dial 911 as if they were home or anywhere else. The second part of it is the notification that when someone does make a 911 call, specific phones are notified either by a visual display, an audio display, or also a text or email. That is the minimum you should have. The newest regulation, the ReOpening Act, builds upon that, and it requires additional information be sent to the PSAP when the 911 call is made. They call it dispatchable address location. Not only the street address of the business, but the suite number, the floor, the wing, any information that can get the first responders there quicker.
Great, thank you. So our next one is a question about what are the lead times that Connectivity Point is seeing, and are there any product shortages in the industry? Who would like to take that one?
I can take, as far as the cabling side, you know, there are a lot of manufacturers out there that we partner with. So there are some, you know, shortages and some lead times on certain materials. I would say the outdoor plant material is probably the most lead time that's with regards to fiber optics and some of the outdoor copper. But for the most part, you know, it has been readily available. Unfortunately, we're seeing, just like everything else, we're seeing an increase in cost for the materials, and that's across the board for, you know, all construction for that matter. But yeah, material prices are going up too.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us today, and you know, I hope you found the information helpful and informative. And if you have any additional questions or would like to request an infrastructure audit or an inventory audit, which are both things that we do in order to kind of assess the equipment and structure that you have existing to really see where your money would be best spent for what you need to do, or to help you plan for budgetary needs for the year ahead. So please here, I've posted email addresses, and you can also reach out to info@connectivitypoint.com, and we can get you in touch with one of them if you don't remember which what the email address is. But thank you so much for attending, and I look forward to hosting some more of these and having more information to share with you guys. So thank you so much, and have a great day.